Let me tell you a little story. So there was a time when the internet, and this was like 30 years ago, when the internet was pretty wide open. Not every device came with a firewall or a VPN, and some of these systems were pretty expensive. I used to work for a small data security company in Rockville, and we made a sale of about 30 firewall units. I think it was like 34. They were firewall VPNs to a company in Europe, and they were installers. So they flew me out there, and yes, 30 years ago, I was 12. They were using child labor because I'm not that old. So they flew me out there, and I don't sleep well on airplanes. So it's an all-night flight. I get there in the morning. I have to have to clean up in the airport bathroom. He's smiling because he's done it before. He's had that extent. Hop on a train, go out to my client site. They pick me up. They take me to this little place. And this office is actually an old brewery. So it's this dingy little place. It looks like a hobbit hole. There's no windows. It's not a big, shiny place. And it's about 400 years old. And so we spend the first day, I meet the two engineers who are going to be installing these firewall systems. And these all go on a big box. These all go on a big box. And the box is a Sun Spark 5 or Spark 10, depending on, so if you guys remember that. And these things cost probably $10,000, $15,000. The software costs $10,000 to $15,000. So this is a pretty expensive unit. And they're doing 30 of these. So we spend the first day, I meet the boss, and then I meet the two engineers, and we plan out what we're going to do to make sure that we can get all these things installed. So we plan things out. Then I do some installation. I set up a system. We do some training. And that takes us pretty much the full day. And then we go out to the pub, because they have to take the American guy, because the American guys have such sexy accents compared to English people. So we're there. And they take me out to the pub, and I'm talking to one of the sales guys, and we find out that there's a couple of solutions we might be able to implement. So he wants me to go on a sales call with him tomorrow, the next day. And so come back the next day, a little hungover, tired, because I haven't slept much in 2 days. And I go off to the sales call, and I come back. And when I come back, there are 3 new people there I haven't seen. Obviously, they're executives. And one of them, I swear, is the biggest man I've ever seen in my life, at least at that point in my life. He was enormous. And they're arguing. They're not happy. And they acknowledge me, but they don't introduce themselves. So they're not happy with me. You've been in trouble before, right? You can sense that. Right? So that happens. So they go off. And then a few minutes later, the boss comes. Steve, so-and-so wants to see you. Okay, so I go in there. And it happens to be the big guy, the German guy. Not just the big guy, because he's the boss's boss's boss. Or as my friend David O'Brien calls it, the great-great-grand boss. But this guy is just enormous. If Germany had a sumo wrestling team, he would be the captain. This is how big this guy was. And to make it even funnier, he has a high squeaky voice. And he won't sit down. And small room. And so he's telling me that he's very unhappy because I'm not there installing, my hands are not on the keyboards, I'm not installing. And so I explained to him that what we were doing was first thing we did was we planned things out. Then I did some installation, then we did some training, then I'm doing some consulting with one of the customers, and then we're doing mentoring. So the deal was we would teach these two techs how to install the systems, because it's a lengthy process. And so I told them all the progress we made, all the plans we had, everything, all the different skills we were using. And then there was silence. And I was very scared, because this man's enormous. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came the largest belly laugh I have ever heard. And I swear that it felt like the walls shook. And he laughed, and he laughed, and he said something in German, and put his big, huge bear paw on my back, and shook my hand finally, and I felt like a little child. And that's when I realized you have to align with everybody you're dealing with. And if you don't have complete alignment with whatever you're doing, no matter what you're trying to do, it's not going to work for you. So, and what we're here to talk about today is how you align with your customers and the different ways Agile coaches might interact and the different skills you might want your Agile coaches to do. So you have to make sure you align completely. So we're going to talk about how to identify the skills, what are some of the common skills, and how to spot the needed skills. Because if you're hiring a coach, you're hiring somebody who needs a job. So it's in their best interest to put on their best behavior. And if you are a coach, you need to align every time you start a new engagement. You could be with one customer and start multiple engagements every 3 months, because you might start working with a few teams, then you move on to another team and start working with them. And every time you do, you need to align completely, and if you don't, you could have the same problems that I had. So, you don't want any confusion, and what you do want is complete agreement on how you're going to put everything together. Now, many of you, Agile coaches, may have seen a diagram like this. Lisa Adkins and Michael Spade, they created the book on Agile coaching that everybody's familiar with, and they created this X-wing diagram. And there's multiple different areas in there. And these are all great, and as we go forward, I have discovered that there are even more different areas. And this is what we're going to talk about, are the different skills and the different hats Agile coaches might wear. So, as I told you, I would make a fool of myself as we are going through this process. So the first skill that we often see are the trainers. This is my training hat. So, I think it's on backwards. Here we go. Yes, and I realized this was a really stupid presentation because I got way too much kit. But, so when you're looking at a trainer, and think about it, did you guys ever have any good teachers? Think about your favorite teacher. And think about some of the skills that they had, some of the passion that they had. One of my favorite teachers loved math. Think about that. Math is not that exciting, but he got everybody excited about math because he had such a great passion for it. So if you want teaching, and that's what you want your Agile coach to do, make sure that they're a good teacher. Ask yourself if the person you're interviewing has those skills that you like in a good teacher. They may not. And also ask yourself, why do you want the training? We're in the DC area, and many of us are working for government contractors. And all we need are certificates. Doesn't matter if they really know the material or not, we just need to have this list of certificates so we can place the bid for the government contract, right? That's all we have to do. And if that's what you want, don't worry about it. But if you really want your people to learn, you have to be careful, and you have to make sure you've got a good, there we go, is the tassel better? And you have to make sure you have a good teacher. Now, one of the things that we're seeing today is we are seeing COVID instructors, and you'll see them on LinkedIn. During the last 2 years, I learned to deliver these 6 training courses. And well, if they learned to deliver 6 training courses in the last couple of years, have they had a chance to use any of that? Have they actually implemented it? Did they just get certified to check the box so they can teach, or can they actually teach? Do they actually know the material? And if they don't, they may just be slide readers. Now, if you're familiar with Scaled Agile Framework, the SAFe training material is fabulous. It is actually extremely good because they've worked on it, they've tweaked it for years. But if you look at the slides, every slide has like paragraphs of stuff because they know that certain trainers, not all, but many of them, can only read the slides, and that's all they can do. If you ask them a question, they can't do it. So make sure you're getting a good teacher if that's what you're looking for, okay? And ask them to explain a concept, and then ask them to explain it again. Tell them you don't get it. And see if they explain it the exact same way, because if they do, they might be a slide reader. But if they don't, they might have some good examples. And then you might have yourself a great teacher. Okay? All right, so the next one, the consultant. Where's my consultant hat? This one took some effort. I couldn't figure out what to do for a consultant hat. But just like a doctor, I know you're wondering, what the heck? It was a tough one to come up with. So consultants, they come in, what do? They kind of figure out what your problems are, and then they write your prescription. Here, do this. This is what you have to do. They probably may not take any responsibility for actually doing the work. That's up to you. Just like a doctor. If he gives you a prescription, it's up to you to take the medicine. It's up to you to get the prescription filled. It's up to you to drink the fluids and everything else. So you need to make sure that you have a good consultant. So you might want to start thinking about what are the questions you would ask a consultant. Well, ask them how much experience they have. Where have they been? They probably have an MBA. They probably understand your business, and they should have some deep experience in where you're going with these things. Okay? And consultants can be wonderful, but they may not take responsibility for actual implementation, just like a typical doctor may not. Right? So the doctor will tell you what to do. Here's the prescription. Go do it. It's up to you. Then the next one that we see is the facilitator. Dun, dun, dun. How's this one? Is this one better? This one works a lot better when I have a yellow shirt on, because then I definitely look like the referee. But this is the referee's hat, and that's what facilitators do. They set the guardrails, they set the rules, they don't influence the outcomes. And if you have some struggles with your business, if you have a hard time getting business owners together, you might need a facilitator. So ask the questions. Ask them, how invested are they in the things that they believe are important? Because a good facilitator is going to let you guys decide and is going to help you come to the answer. A bad facilitator is going to push you to the answer that they believe is the right one. Right? We've all seen that. No, that won't work. Do this. This is what you must do. And if you want that, well, hopefully you have a good consultant to do that. But if you want a facilitator and you want to get your people and your teams working together, focus on that. And again, ask the questions and make sure they're good at what they do. Okay? Any questions so far? All right. Dun, 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 dun. That song is never going to go out of my head. Dun, 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 dun. You guys watch Ted Lasso? Who watches Ted Lasso? Nobody watches Ted Lasso? Oh, you should watch. If you have an opportunity, watch Ted Lasso. It is one of the best shows going on right now. I have watched it with my entire family. It is very interesting to watch with my 12-year-old son and 18-year-old daughter. She wants to become a psychiatrist. And one of the great things about the show Ted Lasso is he knows nothing about soccer, but he's hired to be a coach for a soccer team over in England. And even though he knows nothing about soccer, he makes everybody better. So he focuses on figuring out what makes people tick, what motivates them, asking them questions, and everybody on the show becomes better because of Ted Lasso. They become better people, they become better team players, they become better at what their skills are. And it's fun to watch with my daughter because she wants to be a psychologist. And at the end of each show, we would talk about all the different aspects they went through. But the fascinating thing is one of the characters uses the F word more than any other word. And so, we constantly have to hear that. But the coach, if you're looking for a coach to make sure your teams are better, your people are better, if you have new leaders that are struggling with their role, then you might need a coach. And if you're interviewing the coach, talk to them. They should be asking deep questions. They shouldn't be telling you as much. They shouldn't be saying, this is what I do, this is what I have done with an organization. They should be talking about the people that they have coached and how they built up those people. And so make sure you have those conversations. And I will be the first to tell you, as an Agile coach, I believe most Agile coaches have no idea how to have a true coaching conversation. We are usually there as trainers, and we are usually asked to facilitate. But very rarely are we asked to truly coach individuals and help them become better leaders or better at what they do. And I think that's one of the missing links in many Agile transformations, is we skip that. So make sure you focus on that too. And the next is the mentor. The mentor's fun. The mentor's fun. Who's watched Harry Potter? You guys remember Dumbledore? Do you know how hard this hat was to find? This was incredible. It took me forever to find a decent hat for a mentor hat. So one of the things about mentors is they probably do some coaching, they probably do some training, but they can also rely very heavily on their own experience. And this becomes very challenging because you do need to find people that have a deep experience in the area that you're focusing on. If you want mentors to help your new Scrum Masters, well, you probably need somebody who's been a Scrum Master for quite some time, who's been through the ranks. And if you want to improve your product ownership, you probably want a mentor who's focused on product owners. And trust me, if you're an Agile coach and you think you're going to mentor people or coach them, and your customer is expecting you to be more hands-on, like that big German fella 30 years ago, you might be in trouble because you need to make sure that you align every step of the way. So make sure you have those conversations and talk about what you will actually do. Okay. Then, this is one of my favorites. Come on. Oh, there, where'd they go? There we go. There we go. The Agile Spy. You guys have all seen the Agile Spy, right? And you might hire somebody to say, I have no idea what's going on in my organization. It's okay. You might not know what's going on in your organization, and you may need to. And the Agile Spy, well, they could have completely different qualities as any of the rest. It doesn't necessarily matter if they know in-depth training, if they have coaching skills, if they can mentor. What can they do? Can they audit your teams? Can they go through and can they find out what's going on? And the Agile Spy has to be very good. The Agile Spy has to be smooth. Agile Spy has to be liked. Because if you don't like the Agile Spy, guess what? You won't tell them anything. And if they find out you have an Agile Spy in your organization, no one's going to share any information with them. Right? So they're just going to shut up. They're just going to clam up and you'll be in trouble. So the Agile Spy has to be very good, and you need to focus on what that is. And I have been in organizations where they have asked me to do all of these things up to date. One organization, same one. Go into this team and find out what they're doing. I don't know. We don't know. They seem to be producing, they seem to be busy, or we're going to this team, they're not producing anything. We don't know why. So go find out. And that's where you have to go. I was once working with a development team of 19 people. There were 4 developers that did basically nothing, but they were well liked by the team, and the team was propping them up. So they were doing all the coding, and they had 4 people that were just completely dead weight. And then it turns out the lead developer was getting a little kickback on the side, so he wanted to keep them there. But it wasn't very effective for my customer. So watch out. So sometimes you need the Agile Spy. And who's heard of dojos? There we go. Here comes a dojo coach. Walking down the aisle just as we bring up dojos. You guys remember Mr. Miyagi? Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, right? It's all about muscle memory. With dojos, the concept is we want to take something real quick. That's okay, Camille.
Okay.
Is it? Dun, dun, dun.
I think I...
Perfect. Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Welcome. So, do you know Jesse?
Hi, Jesse.
Introduce yourselves,
No, I don't think
because you guys should. You guys should know each other. Anyway, so the dojo coach is there to impart muscle memory. Good dojo coaches have deep experience in whatever areas you're focusing on. So you might ask them how they would solve problems or how they've solved problems in the past. And a good dojo coach is going to take a team for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and focus on solving a problem. They're going to go through this agile cycles very quickly and very crisply, and they're going to meet with the team constantly. And as they go through the muscle memory, they're going to learn things. Now, good dojo coaches will start with what is the problem and focus on that. Bad dojo coaches are going to say, here's our script. Every team is going to run through this script. I've seen organizations do that. I've seen organizations go through, they'll take 6 teams, all teams are going to do exactly this, and at the end they're going to be agile. And what happens is, at the end of those 6 weeks or 12 weeks, half of the teams drop out. Half the teams say, we don't want to do agile, this did not work for us, because it didn't solve their problems. So that may not be what you need to do. But dojo coaches can be very, very popular and very, very practical. And then, dun, 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 this is the delivery coach. I think I can turn the light on, but I don't know how. Is that wrong? Anyway, so the delivery coach, and most agile coaches have been hired to be the delivery guy at some point or another. And what the delivery coach does is we're asked to deliver the project. At the end of the day, we need to do this. We have this deadline, help us deliver it. And it can be very frustrating if the conversations are going past each other. If the coach is there with the belief that they're there to do the training or do consulting or do coaching, and the customer says, no, I just want you to deliver this. That's my only concern. Then we need to make sure that the agile coach can focus on the delivery. And that's what they're doing. And it could be a very short-lived gig. So we need to make sure that they're probably PMP certified. They probably have some project management background. They have probably done the role that you're asking them to fill. Because you might be asking them to come in and become a project manager, a release train engineer, a program manager, or a product manager. Just deliver it. That's all the focus is on. And if you don't align, it ain't going to happen, right? And now, you were wondering what my favorite hat was. My favorite hat is the Bobby hat. The Bobby hat. Who has run into the Agile Police? You guys see? Who's been asked to be the Agile Police? Yes. You know the Agile Police, right? We've all seen them. Here, we are going to audit every team. Oh, your story points are off. Sorry. Your retrospective ran 3 minutes over. Sorry. Your daily stand-ups, non-existent. You must follow all of these rules, right? And so if you have the Agile Police, and there's nothing wrong with that, often it is very helpful to walk into an organization and with new teams, we're going to do this by the book, all the steps, and then we'll figure out what doesn't work. So an Agile Police can be helpful, but you go through all the steps, figure out what works, what doesn't. But the Agile Police can be very frustrating because they can go and they can take very functional teams and make them very dysfunctional. Because the purpose of agility is to focus on the flow of value. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Yes, maybe your stand-ups should only be 15 minutes, but hey, if the team is doing well and the stand-up lasts 22 minutes, who cares? If that works for the team and they're providing value, go for it. If that helps them increase flow, go for it. But that's where the focus is. The Agile Cop does not focus on the outcomes. The Agile Cop focuses on, are you following the rules? Right? Doesn't matter what the outcome is, are you following the law? Did you go over the speed limit? Did you go under the speed limit? Did you make a left turn from the wrong lane? Sorry, you get a ticket. That's what you want, that's fine, but make sure that that's what you're getting and make sure that is going to provide you the value that you want. Dun, 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 dun. Now, here is one more. This is the yes person. No one hires the yes person. No one deliberately hires the yes person. But when we have the yes person, man, they're so much fun to have around. We can really love the yes person. I know I have stupid ideas, but tell me I'm right, please. Right? Many organizations have the yes person. And the yes person is often a toxic individual. And they create toxicity within an organization because they say yes to the dumbest things on the planet. They will always tell you you're doing the right thing no matter how silly it is. Oh, they can talk to teams. I've actually heard this one. What? You needed access to that database? You needed something from the database team and you submitted a ticket 2 days ago? And you wanted access to the tables that had PII, that had social security numbers in it, and they didn't give it to you? Well, it's their fault. It's the database team's fault that you're not delivering, not you. Couldn't possibly be you. So, yes, and the yes man always tells you you're right. So we don't hire the yes man, but be careful. If you're going to ask for a consultant or a trainer or a coach or any of those, they're probably going to argue with you a little bit. They're probably going to challenge you and tell you whether you're right or wrong. But you might get frustrated hearing no. You might get frustrated saying, no, that's wrong. But you have to be careful because the yes man will be there and the yes man will just keep you edging on and tell you everything's beautiful and roses when it's not. So be careful. Watch out for the yes man. And we love the yes man. Who's had a yes man here? They're nice to have around, aren't they? Yes. But no, they're not good for long term. So we just went through very quickly 10 different personas of how we can expect our Agile coaches to act. We talked a little bit about how to identify them, what the skills are, and what the advantages are. So we want to make sure that we partner with our Agile coach. We want to ask them, here are the skills, here's the goals that we have. And often you want to start with the goals and then figure out how they will apply the various skills that they may have. Because we may decide we want a trainer, but they may decide there's a better way to do it. They may decide the best way to do it is consulting or mentoring or coaching, but let them figure that out and work with them together so there's no misalignment. And understand what the common skills are you may need and figure out how to spot them and focus on those skills. No Agile coach is good at everything. None. I'm sorry. We can't be good at everything. Right? Here, Camille just sat down. She's excellent with tech. She can program around me like nobody's business. She can figure out code smells. I can't do what Camille does. But I'm also skilled in other areas. So maybe we could partner really well together and we could do different things. No Agile coach is good at everything. Make sure the coaches that you get are good. And if you are a coach, make sure you're having the right conversations with your customer. Make sure they know what skills you're going to apply to solve the problems. So you also need to figure out how to spot the needed skills. And if you do that, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to get much more mileage from each of your Agile coaches, and make sure you're going to hire the right people.